Hello and welcome to the Traxion Control Podcast, your weekly dose of sim racing and racing game news, opinions, and views. I'm Tom, and not joining me this week is Tom Bunton, John, Ross, or Martin. Instead, we are going to be once again talking about the controversial sim racing title, Project Motor Racing. And to do so, once again, is the Chief Creative Officer, Aris Vasilakos, but also the new Chief Executive Officer, or CEO, Kevin Boland, who's moved up from Chief Development Officer, or CDO, in lieu of Ian Bell, who founded Straightforward Studios, the development team behind Project Motor Racing, and I believe funded it in the early stages at the very least. So Ian is no longer in that role. He's also a controversial character, but Kevin now is. So we've got Kevin and Aris to discuss that change. I wanted to know more about that and how that affects or doesn't the Straightforward Studios team and the Project Motor Racing project. They wanted to talk about the recent patch, which improved or heavily revised, improved is subjective, but heavily revised the GT3 and GT4 cars' physics, or rebuilt in their terms, plus other features, such as the VR Alpha was updated and triple screen support for PC players was added in Alpha. I wanted to discuss what's coming in the near-term future for Project Motor Racing, so they talk about what to expect from the August update, including rebuilt hypercars and some other feature changes, and then also a brief element of sort of the longer-term future for Project Motor Racing. You know, are there going to be any sequels or things, or what were they in the plans? Elements like this. I would say that the smaller details we didn't have time to ask on this particular instance. So if you've got any further questions for Project Motor Racing about specific features not mentioned here, then let me know in the Spotify and YouTube comments. We did touch upon some issues they've been having with online multiplayer, and they do talk about AI, but the AI computer-controlled rivals. We could have discussed that more, I'm sure. So as ever, honest feedback in the comments. We couldn't get through everything, but here's Kevin and Aris to discuss what's been happening very recently at Straightforward Studios and what they're working on next. Okay, so Kevin and Aris, great to speak to you again. Great to see you again. Thank you for your time. How are you both?
Good. Summertime. There's sun outside, I was told. So that's good. I'm personally, I'm excited for this next patch that's coming today. I think we're starting to... I said it a while ago that we had an amazing physics engine and we were unearthing it, and that we had stuck ourselves into an echo chamber. And we've done and listened to the community and smashed that echo chamber. And then we went a step further, and we brought Aris in, and because we got him to start telling us what we were missing and what we needed to look at and how we were going to do it. And he brought with him what would be the best way to describe it? A new energy and a new love that we needed. Would be the best way to say it. You know, because I won't lie, I was like, everything's on fire, everything's on fire, everything's on fire, and Aris going, calm down. I'm down one thing at a time. Our community is saying this. Let's fix that. Then we'll do something. And you know, sometimes you need that steady hand to help. So yeah.
Okay, and are you okay, Aris?
I'm good. I'm extremely excited. As you know, we're about to release the patch. It's a big day, as every release. Kevin is right. We're still running around fire everywhere, but you need to task and track one thing at a time. We're still doing a ton of things together, but you know, you need to have some order to calm down, because otherwise you can make mistakes. I think we are at the very edge of having an amazing base and start an incredible journey. This is how important this patch is going to be. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, big talk there. I'm glad you're both okay. Glad you're both busy. There's obviously lots to do, and you both got your plugs for the patch out of the way early. So we'll talk about that later as well. I will go into that. I think there is some within one of the press releases somewhere. There was an interesting 3 letters that changed next to your name, Kevin. Right?
Yeah.
So you're now the Chief Executive Officer of Straightforward Studios, the development team for Project Motor Racing. That was formerly Ian Bell. Just explain to me what's happened here.
Basically, I've been running the day-to-day, and it's just a D change to an E.
Okay.
It doesn't exactly. I can't really. It's not like I've suddenly got this new throne, or there's nothing's actually changed day to day. If that makes sense, it's
Right.
just Ian's is an entrepreneur. He has other interests, and he's what you call it. He's just kind of stepped back. So he has from the studio, from the day to day of the studio and that.
Because you were formerly chief development officer anyway, so that's already quite a senior role. That's when you
Yeah,
say
so
day-to-day, right?
I was kind of, you know what I mean. I just, nothing's actually changed within my role. Maybe a little bit, more. Well, I was doing it, but more the business side is just what you call it, comes my direction as well. I just have to sign a few different things when it comes to bank accounts. That's about it. I'm not. There's no difference. I still like this morning. I'm looking at right now. I was looking at the lighting model for nighttime racing because I think it's too slow. I don't think my letters in my name make any difference to the fact that I have to go and fix a shader later on. That's as simple as I can put it. There's nothing else to it. The game's been moving on. We've been continuing on the trajectory that we've been working on. We're still trying to deliver. If you describe it as something, do you know what I mean? Sometimes you need a kind of visionary CEO who pushes and says grand things to get product out, and then you need to change how you do that, and that becomes more, a fixer and a doer, and that's what I would describe myself as right now. And as we brought Aris in, and we've said Aris is kind of going to help make sure that we're the direction of the product and that we're still keeping where we are. So sometimes it's good to know your strengths, and sometimes it's good to know your weaknesses, and that's the best way I'll describe it. As I said, literally, I'm going to go look at a shader after this call.
Just personally for you, Kevin, I think you've been working with Ian Bell since the Need for Speed Shift days, at least.
Yeah,
So, is this a change for you personally?
yeah, yeah. Like it's, I've always worked. Like, how do you describe it? Like there was a period there where I was working in EA that I wasn't working with Ian,
Yeah.
and then obviously the period before that when I worked in Rockstar and all that. But yeah, he's been part of, he's been that kind of figure there all the time. And I have to describe a little bit, his single-minded belief is you know what I mean, was like a safety net. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. Sometimes, you had that thing that sometimes when Ian was around, I think his single-minded belief made you just feel like, oh yeah, just keep doing what you do. I learned one thing very early in my life, or well, I didn't learn it very early. I learned it and then unlearned it, and I've learned it again previously just from working, with my kids and stuff. You have two things in life: what you can control and what you can't control. Yeah, and I just focus on the things that I can control, and I try to encourage people to do the same, and not worry about anything else. If you worry about all the noise, you forget to work on the thing that you need to fix or focus on, and that's kind of where we are. Are, and still are, is that there is a lot of noise, but you can only really work on one thing at a time. Yeah, and you bring people in that can give you that energy and that help, and that's why I brought. That's why we have Aris, and for me to not have Ian around is interesting, but it's a thing I can't control. It's that's something personal to him, so I don't really want to talk much more. He decided that he wanted to move on and do different things.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. And I should also state for our audience that Ian wasn't available to comment at this time. But yeah, I just thought that you've worked together like, on and off there for a very long time, and maybe that will happen again in the future. We'll see. Just final point before I move on from this role change. I think it's just fair to reiterate that without him pulling together some finances and some of the former Project Cars 4 development team when that game was cancelled, that this project wouldn't exist, right?
There's lots of projects that would have existed if you think about it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fair.
Like he whether people like him or not, because he has his rightful place in sim racing history. That's it, and hopefully that we can sometimes at some point in the future, my name or I'm not going to say ours. Your name's kind of there anyway. Our names are there also. You know what I mean. I believe that PMR is a great product. I believe that we had a rough start, but we've shown our dedication to it, and we're still listening, and we'll still move it forward. And unfortunately, a little bit of that is going to be a little bit boring, but that's just the way it has to be. We will show consistency, and yeah, that's I can't. I haven't, if I say it personally, I haven't thought much about the role change or what it means with Ian, and I'm actually only thinking about it for the very first time now, because I had a load of things on this morning. I knew the question was coming, but we have that much to do, yeah. And literally for me, all that's happened is I have to sign an extra bank account. I'm just still focused on working. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
That I haven't actually sat down and thought, I'm whatever. Who cares? My job essentially hasn't changed. My job is to make sure, one, that I have a team that can deliver the work that we need to do, that they have everything they need to do it, yeah, and that we are now, as it says, lessons learned. We're listening and we're fixing the right things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that job hasn't changed, whether I'm called CTO, CDO, T-boy. Yeah. That's as simple as it gets. And you need to make sure and that's it. It's as simple a job as that. Yeah. It's just moving it forward. I'm not going to turn around and say, make any grand statements. We're going to make anything else. We are singularly focused on PMR. Yeah. There's no new thing coming along. That's our focus. So that's as simple as it gets.
Yeah. I think, that's key to say, because Ian is totemic in many ways, of sort of spearheading projects. He's well known online. It can be vocal on social media, and so people might look at this and go, "Oh, does that destabilize the project or not at this juncture?" But I think what you're saying there is you're still focused. Everyone's focused, and look, we've brought Aris in to also help out. Just quickly, Aris, to bring you in then. So the final point on this before we talk about the latest update and the future of the project. Does this not really change your day-to-day tasks anyway? You're already so focused on what's coming up.
It doesn't change at all my day-to-day things. I will add here something. Ian, we all know him. He's a bigger-than-life sim racing figure out there, with a lot of controversy as always. But I will say that it is undoubtable that what he did for sim racing is extremely important. I am here because Ian sparked to many of us the interest to do something into this industry. I don't know if you remember, but back in the days of Formula One Championship, a total mod came out called GTR 2002. Right? 2002.
Yeah.
And showcased us what is possible to do. And that, for me and many others in this industry, was like, we can do stuff instead of just waiting, for other development teams to do it for us. And then so many titles, ACCs, part of it, why it exists, is because of GTR 1 and GTR 2. Let's make something better out of that way. Project cars, now we have PMR. So you cannot, you can say whatever you want, but you cannot dismiss all the history. It's out there for everybody to see. But that's the idea and the whole history. The work that we're doing now in PMR obviously is a completely different thing that we don't need to stay. We just need to stay focused on the job, not on the history. We need to look forward. So in terms of everyday job, no, obviously it doesn't affect us. I'm sure that Kevin has a lot more to do on top of that now.
No, he said it's a few extra signatures. So if he says it's that saying there's a lot to do.
I was going to get a pay rise. I was going to go to the port. No, I'm not. Sorry, no joking.
Yeah, I'm not so sure if those extra signatures let him sleep well at night. That's always the case, because you have to deal with the future of all of us working on that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important stuff. Ian was taking care of his guys inside the studio, and now Kevin is still taking care of us inside the studio in the same way, so we can focus and do the job. That's the main thing around it.
So speaking of the job, we've got this
Right.
Proclaimed large patch or update with the GT3 and GT4 cars rebuilt, which is strong wording. So let's see if it lives up to that. I mean, I did try an unfinished version of this at Charlotte Sim Racing Expo, and I did think, okay, I can feel differences, especially for the GT3 car that I drove, and that wasn't finished at that stage. So explain to me what's happened here, please, Aris, and have you brought across? I mean, GT3 cars and GT4 cars seems to be your bread and butter, to use an English expression there, right? So have you brought some learnings from previous sim titles across?
Well, certainly I tried to bring all the learnings we have from the actual industry because, as you know, in my previous tasks in my career, I was in really close contact with a lot of drivers, a lot of manufacturers, tire manufacturers as well. So I guess I have some knowledge about that, some experience at least. We try to put all of that into PMR. Here's the key. As Kevin said also before, the engine is incredibly capable. It has many features that we're still exploring. Like, oh, we can do that, and we can do that, and we can do that as well. And so, what it needed, as every engine, is the correct data and the correct feedback and the correct process to flourish. So we hope that this is what we're doing. It's not the only thing we're doing. There are a lot of big features coming in for network. There are improvements into AI as well, even though we know that we need to do much more on AI, especially on the career, and they are programmed to do on the upcoming patches. This is going to be a big change into the core functionality of the simulator. I would be delusional to say that we now might have some hiccups here and there as we're releasing that. That's why we're already working on stabilizing and taking this code into a mature state with upcoming hotfixes and patches. But the key point is this is where it starts. This is where we can get people in and have them to play and enjoy and have fun, and track closely and fix any maybe new issues, I hope not, that might be here, but build upon this base.
Okay.
So it's going to be very important. That's why we're nervous about it.
I have an important thing that really needs to be pointed out. Our physics engine, I would say, has maybe had about 15 to 20% of code churn since launch. We got so wrapped up in the technology that we were building that we forgot to actually showcase it, right? So if you go in, and anybody can, because as we said, all the Hadron files that are there are open. They're not hidden behind anything. You can open up those GT3 cars, and if you were clever enough, you could compare them to previous patches, and you will see, where we've balanced and what we've changed. Them data files haven't really changed. There was one day there last week, Aris was messing around, and did you put 4-wheel steering on a car just for the crack?
Yeah.
We didn't even think it was possible. And that was just all done through the Hadron files. Yeah, we're trying. One of the things I said, I remember saying in Sim Racing Expo last year, was that what we thought we were trying to do was supply a canvas for people to paint on. Do you know what I mean? And we didn't. The problem was, and I still feel the problem was, that we didn't do a good enough painting for them to see. Does that make sense? And what we're doing now is we're going, right. Aris is going and saying, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And, we're standing there going, there's no us anymore, or there's no us, there's you and us. So you're part of this we now. So it's not a case of why can't we do that? And I was like, well, you can. I don't know why we haven't. Yeah. Because we're sitting there a little bit embarrassed sometimes about some of the little mistakes that you make, but it happens. I was looking there last week just to try and wrap my head around why is it that we did. Our base game has 70 odd cars. We'll have over 100 cars, different cars, 21 different race classes out there. Yeah, and then we get compared to LMU. They have 5.
Yep.
30 cars. And we're trying to pour our heart and soul into all of this. And you know what? There's that thing of being all things to all men. So what we've started to do, if you noticed in the way we do our patches, is we've been trying to do one class at a time. And we brought them to a level. And then we were going to go, oh no, yeah, we have to get this next set of, whatever DLCs. But when we're not happy with GT3 and GT4. Why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? And I was like, okay, why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? And so we found ourselves obsessing again. And what I love about it is that we're equally as obsessed, and we're equally listening to everything that's been said. And as it says, this is what I call, this is the first set where we've just went and says we're going. This is the direction. This is what the feel. This is more realistic. Every single car is individual in some way now. Yeah, and that's why I'm going big, bad, bold statements. People that know cars would feel it and know it, and that's really important, right? I'm not saying that, we go along and you turn around and say, oh, well, GT3 tires are essentially all the same, therefore we went, yeah, they're essentially all the same, so therefore all the cars have the same tires. Yeah, but some of them have different pressures. One silly thing that's been going around, we were messing around with tire pressures on the hypercars, and it turned out that the reason the hypercars were slowing down was that the tire pressures were too low. And what we found was that some people were getting an exploit where they're putting the tire pressure up, and what's happening was when they're coming around in a bump, the under tray was hitting the ground and it was slowing the car down, and we'd forgot the audio channel, so nobody actually got that feedback. And that's meant to sound really silly. And it wasn't even the case. It was a case of getting one of the guys to put the audio channel in. I don't even know, is that in this patch? Is that in this patch?
I think there is an improvement on that, and a better one on the next one. But there is an improvement
on
the sound.
The tire came up. The tire pressure was too low, and when you put the tire pressure in, it lifted the car just a little, because we simulate the whole drivetrain and suspension.
I can give you even a better example of that. So practically, I was doing a live stream for the Italian community in Italian. And people have been getting frustrated, very rightfully so, because on the hypercars they were losing power. And they say, well, it's a bug, we're losing power, after a while the ICE engine doesn't produce enough power and we were slow. And so everybody thought that was a bug. Well, it was a bug, but it's not a bug, it's a feature. Well, anyway, to give you an idea what happened, we are not doing the hypercars internal combustion engine, the ICE engine. We're not doing it with proper, normal data tables, which is a perfectly fine way to do it. That's how you should do it in simulation. You put the revs, the torque, the power, and you get your internal combustion power band. That's how you do it. Nope. We do it by actually simulating all the internal parts of an internal combustion engine. We have pistons, we have camshafts, we have injection, we have advance of the injection, all that. It's complex. And so our developers were looking at it, why we have this, we found out. Here it is, one of the pistons is losing compression during lap after lap, and it's getting damaged because of a bad, number. And practically, at some point, it loses a lot of compression, doesn't create engine power anymore. So I said that to the Italian community. They lost their mind because we're simulating a proper internal combustion engine. So here we have a couple of things. First of all, the physics engine has amazing complexity and incredible realism in it, built in it. Is it too complex? Well, yeah, maybe sometimes, but it's our job to make it work. Otherwise you don't have improvement, you don't have progress. Second, we don't communicate enough properly what's going on behind the scenes. People didn't even know that we're actually simulating an internal combustion engine in it. Sure, you can ask why, but then we can say, well, why go from a suspension that goes up and down from Netcar Beta to what we have now to all sims that they are full inverse kinematics, 3D and rigid bodies and everything that simulates pretty much a full suspension geometry of a real car. That's progress. That's how you move forward. And so, yep, that's what we're doing. It takes some time. It takes a lot of effort. I think we're in the good path now.
So, there's many things we could unpack from that, but I'm going to ask a very basic question, actually, which is, you've got GT3 and GT4 rebuild in this particular update, But do you already know what you're going to be working on as a priority next? Because as mentioned there, Kevin, you've got such a diverse range of vehicles, not just the contemporary stuff, but a lot of historical elements. So what's next?
Hypercars.
Hypercars. Okay. Tricky ones.
The tricky ones.
Tricky ones.
So
Tricky ones.
for us, the GT3s and GT4s, we're not saying that they're perfect and that they're finished. They're saying this is the next step for us. Yeah. I know that sounds like a cop-out, but you know what? There's some seriously good fun to have, right? But we also are trying to be kind of mindful of the people that enjoy what we have already and trying to make sure that we don't completely, shatter that experience for them. So, there's a balancing act. There's been another thing that we're working on, which has been coming in, which is our engine has been so complex that we forgot to, as Aris said, communicate things. So one of the other things that's coming along, and it's been coming on little by little, is we're starting to put into the tracks the type of track they are, right? And the idea of that is then we're coming along with each vehicle, we're trying to make what we would call the good default setup for that track, yeah? So, if you turned around and you drove Spa and then went to Lime Rock with the same setup, you're going to have a very different experience. And if you're not into the minutiae of trying to do all of that, we're going to build really good defaults to help. Does that make sense? And they'll be part of the package. So, if you turn around and you say you're going to bring your Aston Martin out there, and the idea being there'll be a high bumpy or high force setup and a low force setup, or there might be one for bumpy terrain. There might be one, for where you're more focused on making sure that you keep your tires well. And we're going to have good ones tailored for each track. Now that takes time, but I think it's important, because what we forgot was that, first impressions can last, and you get one chance to make a good first impression. And the problem with that is that we thought, oh yeah, everyone's a bit like us. They'll get in and they'll want to do their setup straight away. And I even seen it with yourself, Tom. You come and you sit down and you only have a few minutes.
Yep.
And you have to make an assessment in a few minutes. And we're saying, well, why didn't you go in and, maybe change your, change the brake bias, or, stiffen the suspension on that track? And we're realizing people are busy. That time for people is precious. And some people want to spend time doing the setups, and some people want to have good setups. And like we're sitting there, and everybody, you'll see Reddit groups and you'll see other things going, oh, the FFB is wrong. And then someone going, what wheel have you got? And then giving them the setup for that wheel. And I'm going, oh, this is a different game. Yeah, because we're off the crankshaft. We're the whole way up the drivetrain. We're not off the patch. So we have a different feel to our FFB, and we really lean in on that. We really feel that long term, that's where it's going to be. Maybe we were wrong, yeah? We didn't want to, when we came out with our game, we didn't want to make something that's just kind of the same as everybody else, yeah? Because what's the value in that? You know what I mean? Great, yeah. We tried to do things in a very different way, and we've made mistakes about that. Like, if I talk about the AI, you know what I mean? Like, the AI is running the full simulation. It's running a simulation, so it eats up CPU. So we didn't really think that one, it's kind of obvious when you look back, but we now see that people want more AI and more characteristics there. Like, our AI has characteristics like how aggressive they are, how consistent they are, how good they are at qualifying, how late they'll try to brake, stamina, for example. And these are like, we don't show that in our game, yeah, and it's really weird because we should. We're sitting there going, well, we're going to obviously sort that out so that we give more context to the person you're driving. Yeah, like some AI can't handle getting bumped. Some AI will be like a tank to you. We know that we've improvements to make on certain elements to make that there. Our, penalty system has gone through an evolution. It's still going through that. That will never finish. We'll try and come up with more ways as rules change. We're talking about, in our online, we're talking about putting in more automated license points, right? We've had some, with online, a Saturday evening, people sitting down to play. I want to sit down and play, and someone decided that they're going to block the pit lane and ruin everything on us. And we're sitting there going, I'm standing there going, I'm like, okay, I'm the CEO, but I'm still having my Saturday night ruined by somebody. And what can I do? I have to actually go online, find the person, and kick him out. You know, so we're going to try and figure out how we can make them experiences a little bit better for people, because that's
Sure.
not fair, and that
Sure.
ruins the perception of our game because somebody just decided to come on and trash it.
In the near term, what do you think are the development priorities?
So, well, yes. I was about to say something about the GT3s, but it is part of your question. And the part of the question is that GT3s, hypercars, are so famous right now because they are a great driving experience in real life and in sims as well. So it is important to have them in a great state, because newcomers will going to come in into our game and be like, hey, let me drive a car that I know and I have experience on and see how this sim feels. If it doesn't feel adequate, then he will simply abandon the game. So the first, as Kevin said, impression is really important. You need to have it in a perfect state so that people do not dismiss the rest of the game, because the rest of the game is big.
So focus on those first before the classic content.
Exactly. So now, to answer better your question, again, I will say first experience is very important. That's why for this patch we already have a new force feedback default settings, so people can jump in and experience the force feedback properly as it should be. We are focusing on the maturity of the netcode with join in progress, which means that you can enter whatever session in practice and qualifying and have fun, not just go for the race and wait for the race, but have fun. We are focusing on the notification system, so you can register for a ranked race that might be in half an hour, 1 hour from when you have time to get into your sim rig. You can go play with your friends or with AI, get a notification, click on it, instantly get connected to the server, and that's coming with this patch. Then we will focus, of course, on getting the VR and the triple screen simulation as good as possible. AI, we need to first eliminate all the bugs and then improve also the racing experience with AI. Very, very important for the next patches. And one of my favorite things that I know people don't use it that much, but they adore to have it and they adore to go every once in a while, is the whole live track system and rain. The system that we have in Project Motor Racing is fully active. We have even water draining down on the slopes and filling places because they are, physically modeled to have some concave surface, and the cars go over it and they splash the water out, and you can see that, and then the water comes back in again. But all of it is not important because you drive in it and you don't feel anything. So we're gonna focus on creating for the next patches the tires so that they react properly to the film of water that we have and the paddles that we have there and the water drains and all of that stuff. It's amazing to feel that, and I think it's gonna be very important to showcase it to people.
So this next patch that's coming after this, just two points to theirs. We're going to bite the bullet and no longer say the VR is beta. We're going to make sure that we have as many all the bugs that we can find and that we've got feedback from fixed, and the same with triple screen, so they'll be active in game, right? And then we're actually doing the hypercars, but we're actually focusing on making sure there's a lot of small little things that have been annoying people. And we've been so focused on doing all these big grand features and doing all these big grand things that the next patch before Gamescom is going to be just about making sure that those small little bugs are fixed. Okay. They matter as much as the big ones, because it's like everything. Something's small until it's no longer small, and we need to get ahead of that. The biggest thing for me personally is we're moving forward now with getting more performance done.
Yeah, so optimization, keeping things running smoother more of the time. I think that is still, it's improved, but it's still a complaint from many people, right?
Yes. Do you know what I mean? We're getting steady 60 FPS on PlayStation. I know that there's problems. We have more things to address. It's we're constantly evolving that and improving it. There's some stuff with our memory layout that's not where it should be, but we are always improving. And the thing is the more performance we get, then we turn around and go, oh, let's get reverbs in for audio. And I was like, great, yay, shit. There's all the performance that I just got back. Yeah. But that sounds class. Listen. I'm like, I don't have a 7.1, what do you call it, set of earphones. And I'm not always sitting in VR, dude. But it does sound great in VR right now. And we're like, so the guys are like, kids in a candy shop. And then I'm like, I'm still getting the same fundamental thing being said to us. We're having fun. We're fixing it. And then we fix something else. Right now, I won't lie. One of the big areas that we're focusing on now is on the resolution on lower end graphics cards.
Right.
And that's one thing, because that's kind of base console. I want the Series S to be a little bit, better. Like Series S runs pretty well, but it's not as fast as the other consoles. So the problem is that it kind of is always at a steady lower frame rate. But the physics is always running at 180 FPS. Yeah, that's the heartbeat of the physics. All right, yeah. So it's always running at that rate. So it's our player one then, will have 4 beats within that. The AI usually has 1. It depends on what it's doing. The combustion engine at some points actually runs at 720 because it needs to, or 7,200. It runs at whatever the revs is going to be because it's resolvers. It's not, you know what I mean? And the problem that you have is that it's all well and good. You turn around and you try to lower how much that you do in each of those steps or try to decrease those steps. You only end up paying the cost at the end also because you have to resolve that. Yeah. So we're in for a penny, in for a pound on this stuff. We've been trying our best to, when we see people with what I would call performance anomalies, we've actually tried to reach out, and we have reached out to them people and brought them in to try and say, look, hey, what's your setup exactly right now? Because this is not the experience we want for you. And we've been working with a lot of people to fix certain things. Like you get certain combinations of cards and CPUs. And with our simulation stuff, some CPUs cope better than others. So we're working on it. We're trying to get people, anyone that has these problems, we're trying to reach out. We're really, really interested in making sure that, we've done something. I've seen people mess around with different apps that, can change the configuration of their CPUs. Getting some incredible results. What I want to do is look at that and say, well, why can't we do something like that in the game without people having to mess around like that? Yeah. Comes back to this same fundamental thing that we said about driver setups. Yeah. Some people are having very different experiences because they went and done these driver setups, or they've got different configurations already set up on their wheels and they're sharing it. And we want to build a community that does that. And then we want to bring the really good stuff back into game so that it's not there for everyone to discover by themselves.
Okay, so we'll see how that progresses in the future, because it's kind of a key thing, isn't it? And with game development, it sounds like when you speak to many people, there's always some sort of compromise, generally speaking. Just a setting aside, and just to go back quickly to online, obviously we know there's join in progress here, but I still see players, having strange contacts online, ghost cars, disconnections. Is there also plans to make the online more reliable, stable? I don't think there's a contact penalties online either at the minute. So just an overview of, are you aware of what's going on online when people are on the track, and are you going to continue to work to improve that?
So we believe, stabilized and fixed some of the connection issues, most of the connection issues. It's really hard sometimes to get that bubble, because we test. We're all remote in our studio. We all test. That's grand. Then we bring in external QA departments, and they do tests, and their tests can be a bit not as good as real life because they'll all be in a LAN usually. And we've, I believe, sorted out a lot of the connection issues. The other good thing about the join in progress is if you disconnect, you can reconnect.
Yep.
Yeah, that was something before that wasn't really there. So you do have some sort of outage. We've set up new relays in other places around the world to try and help. And then we are working really hard with some of the collision issues. Collision issues happen. the collision issues happen because of, usually the ones that you see sometimes happen is because someone with a really high ping or a really bad connection has come in, and the system's come along and it's interpolating for the person, and then the system's got it wrong or it jumps. Yeah, because if you think, if you're doing 200 mile an hour down track, I don't even know, I can't even work out the math in my head right now. My brain, it's too early in the morning. But if you think about it, over a second, you'll have moved at least 16 meters. Yeah, if you have a ping of 300 milliseconds, which is 1/3 of a second, yeah, that is what, five and a third meters. That's 2.5 car lengths. Do you get me? So sometimes there's just constraints, and I'm not saying other games get it better. They do and they don't. We just seem to be getting a very rough time about when it happens with us, and we need to fix it. We need to figure out, make sure that our collisions are, first and foremost, we're going to make sure the collision system is exactly the way we would expect it to be in offline. There's a couple of little issues there that we have come across, and then we're going to promote that to online. We're going to look at how we do our prediction model with certain things. Yeah. And these are they're all happening, and they're happening every single patch. It's just that we don't make a big grand statement about them, because we don't want to do that. And we did that before, or, the statement that was brought out before the launch of the game that we just have been, saying sorry for ever since. So we're doing small, steady fixes to help improve them each time. They are there, but I'm not saying that they're complex problems. They are complex problems, but I don't want to turn around and go, oh, collision's fixed, only to find out it's not. That would be completely wrong. It'd be negligent of us. But what I can tell you is every single patch there has been something improved upon. And every single patch there's a new thing coming along. You turned around, you made a point about penalties based on impacts. That's what we are working on as well. It's a more complex problem than it sounds, because it's like the one I even mentioned earlier. Someone decided to park their car at the end of the pit lane. Do you get what I mean? You're sitting there and you drove into him, right? Is he on the racing line or were you? Was he on the racing line first? I know it's quite logical when you say it in your brain, but when you're running the simulation and you're sitting there going, right, okay, so who was at fault? Yeah, could you have drove around it? Yeah, no, it's obvious. He was at the end of the pit lane. Right, grand. How do you program that in? How do you figure out that that's actually the case? How do you know that he hasn't broken down and it should be a yellow flag? Yeah? Or another one there with the online one. What if his network had gone down and that's just where he stopped? Yeah? Should it have ghosted him out? So you'll see that like certain things happen when we see people doing things that they shouldn't be doing, like they turn around and drive down the track. We ghost them. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Because it's all these small little things, and then as I said, we're going to be looking at how we do license points and how certain things happen with different racked events, like that you have to keep a clean license to enter into these events. Yeah. The problem is that we've got a lot of people that just slate us before they even, we say, come on to Discord, tell us what's going on, talk to us. We've got guys monitoring races all the time, so we do. Trying to put a human element into that to see what's going on.
The online experience is a war that we need to win, and you cannot win a war with a nuclear bomb because everybody dies. There are a lot of fights that you need to put in together and win each and every one of them, so that you arrive at a critical mass, and then you just do your final moves and you win. The whole argument. What I mean by that. It takes improvements on the netcode. It takes user interface enhancements that we have been arriving. For example, simple things like, hey, I am about to battle with a guy in front of me. What is his connection state? Is it good? Is it bad? We can add a small icon to showcase what it is. So that keeps you at a distance because you decided so, or you can have a close fight because it has a good connection. We give you more information about what is your own connection state. If you arrive at a critical mass of users playing the game because they're having fun now, then you can start separating into regions, which further improves. So you see, there is a lot of things that you can do. Some of them you cannot deploy them right now, even if you have them ready, because you need a bigger amount of players from many, many regions in the world. Some of them you can already work on them. Some are long term, like a full Collisions remake on the core of the physics engine. But as Kevin said, you know that you're doing small steps. Those small steps on some players are making a ton of a difference, and they are extremely happy and they spread the word. And some other players simply do not see any difference, and so they are on the opposite spectrum. You keep on doing those changes, you keep on winning those small fights, and at some point the vast majority of the players is like, all right, now this is very enjoyable. And that flips the whole narrative about it. There is no way that we can just put the hammer down and say, it's fixed. Nobody will believe us, first of all. Some people, for whatever reasons, might have a bad experience, and that creates controversy. So, and again, as Kevin said, that's why we don't go out and say, everything's fixed. We do improvements. We're pretty sure as the schedule continues, as we keep on updating, and we do update a lot the game, and our users know that, thankfully, that at some point the narrative will flip completely. I mean, all you have to do is go and check a couple of my live streams that we did with the community, and we have some live community races. Community came from all around the world, and the races were spot on. I had problems with Discord losing connection than the actual game. My co-hosts were like, oh my god, Aris lost connection. And then somebody said, no, I can see him online, he's playing, he's absolutely stable, because Discord lost the connection. So we're at that point.
When Aris joined the team, which is why I love having him around, was he said, you can look at criticism in two ways. You can look at it with fear, or you can look at it with love. And I was like, well, anyway, like, somebody's took the time to actually criticize, which means that they have passion, which means that they want something here and there's hope. And that's been our mantra. When somebody complains or someone says something to us, we take it very serious. We take it and we bring it in, and we try to take out the emotion of what them telling us that the game is shit and whatever they're going to say. And we turn around and we say, well, what was the problem that they had, and how do we go about making sure that that doesn't happen again? Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's really important to us, because if we keep doing that and we keep making sure that we're doing that and people understand that we'll keep doing that, well, then hopefully they give us a chance. Yeah. And hopefully when they give us a chance, they like it and they tell their friends. And that's what we do.
It goes from there.
It goes from there. We're not trying big, bold statements. We really aren't. We know what we need to do, and every time somebody says something, we're looking, what happened there? Like, I have to give this. There's Ryan and Bruno and Fernando, and they're on these live streams, but they're also the people that will talk to you on Discord and will try to help you. Yeah, and then, when it becomes something that's more that has to be dealt with in the game, it comes to me. Aris is everywhere, so he is. He just loves this. I don't know when he sleeps. He just wants to.
No, that was going to be one of the questions, but
sleep is overrated.
No, but listen, thank you both for your time. I'm really looking forward to see how it progresses, and also this particular update. But I have got now, Kevin, that you said it was only a change of letter and a few extra signatures, but as you are now CEO, I'm going to ask you 2 rapid-fire CEO-based questions to finish, right?
Oh, God, okay.
So one is, people, you look at the Steam charts, right, and they're not that pretty, let's be real, compared to some of the PC sim racing games. But is it fair to say that the console audience, in particular PlayStation, is where the majority of players are? And and then therefore, if that's the case, are they a priority for the development or the future of the game? Or maybe not, because you're obviously still working on triple screens of VR, right, which is a PC thing. But
they're PC thing. I play primarily myself personally. I have 2 modes in which I play my game. I have, and I can't even say 2 modes. I play on the PlayStation with an RS50, so I do, and then I play it there.
Yeah.
Right. No. Look, PC is, our PlayStation has a good chunk of our sales. Yeah, it has the majority, but we're looking at that as why. Yeah, we should be doing better. Do you know what I mean? Like, I look at other games that the DNA of some of the other games, the engine, practically the engine of one of the other games is one I wrote, and I'm sitting there looking at it going, how is that doing so well? And we realize one thing, that we have to be consistent. We have to show the community we're here for the long haul. Why would anybody want to invest their time in our game if they don't believe that our game is going to be around in a year's time?
Yep.
Right, and that sounds weird when I say it out loud like that.
No, I understand that.
And I think that it's just a case that we have to keep proving it. We've got a lot of residual. We've got a lot of stuff there that's from the launch still that's dragged us down. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Go look at the Steam ratings over the last 3 months. They're an awful lot different to what they were when we launched. Right? I'm not trying to be CEO. To me, PC is a priority because at the end of the day, I'm not going to lie about this one, right? Before I do anything that's tested and played on PC, right? Because it's the barrier of entry right now. We all play the game and we all want the game to do really well on PC, and it's not changing. Yeah. All my engagements are, and all the wheels I have, they're PC first, and then we move on to console. I can't deny the console's there, but I want a console. I said when I started this that I wanted to make the same experience on PC as on console, right? My idea of doing that was that we get the physics engine to do the same thing. That we have achieved, okay? But we didn't paint the right canvas, right? We had the canvas there and we didn't paint the right picture. We're fixing that. We're working on that. As far as I'm concerned, we're a cross-platform game. As far as I'm concerned, PC is still very, very important to us. Incredibly important to us. It's, I can't. We wouldn't, if PC wasn't important to us, I wouldn't have spent as much time getting triple screen or VR together. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't be the tool chain that's there that people can get access to. Yeah. The modding stuff. If they weren't important to us, we wouldn't be putting that much effort into it. Okay. Right? It depresses me looking at the Steam charts. It really does. It just makes me sad because, that's as a CEO, and you got a CEO question here, is just that I have to look at those numbers and eventually I have to look at what that actually means.
Yeah. Well, I ask because I think there's more competition on PC, right?
There's a lot more competition, but that's the best thing you can ever have is a competition right next door, because what it does is it pushes you to be better.
Yeah.
I've always said that. You were there at some racing enterprise. Says I'm a fan of Assetto Corsa, so I was. If my neighbor, if the Assetto Corsa and the LMU of the worlds didn't exist, and I was there by myself, what innovation? I have to look at them and say I want to do better. Like if you're a race car team and you've no one to race against, it's kind of rubbish.
Oh, of course,
you kind of be sitting there going, I'm sitting there I think that some of the innovative stuff that LMU have done is incredible, and I've said that on stage in front of people. And we want to go a step further. We wanted to simulate the engine. Yeah. We went a step further. Our biggest problem sometimes is I don't think people realize how nerdy we've been with these things. Yeah. We really need to kind of maybe do a bit more when it comes to that, actually. It's showing.
And more polish. Let's be clear about that.
Oh, yeah. Polish is definitely there, yes.
Yeah. And I just to finish off, you mentioned actually there, I'll pick you up on this. You said something like, why would sometimes people play it if people don't know if your game's going to be around a year from now? So obviously, where I'm going with this is in the past, historically, the people on this, people who have been working on the direct lineage to Project Motor Racing, so the GTR games and the Project Cars titles, there is a link there. They all had sequels, right? But for now, is the plan not to think about a PMR 2 or 3 or 4? It's just keep focusing on Project Motor Racing as a platform for, like you said there, a year from now, 2 years from now. There's
nothing in the pipeline except improving this game, listening to our community, and making this the best we can. There's nothing else. I haven't even thought of anything else.
No plan B.
No plan B.
no plan B. Yeah.
Okay, but but the message here from yourself in this role, and also that Aris joining the team, is, hey, the team is committed. and there is a plan for the foreseeable to keep working on PMR.
Yeah. So best way to describe it is we have obviously I don't know. We have obviously a DLC 3 and a DLC 4 for our season pass.
Yep.
A whole new host of cars. We're not plugging that today, right? I don't want to kind of plug that, right? I don't mind plugging our patch because that's something free for everybody, right? They've got some unique content, some really good content. I hope people enjoy it. Where we are then is we are going to continuously improve the player experience, listen to our community, get more polishing. Yeah. Do everything that we want to keep doing, evolve with the fact that everything is evolving, and make sure that our base game and our community grows. And we're going to keep doing that, and we're going to work as hard as we can at that and keep being committed to that. That's as simple as it gets. I don't have a grand plan of going, yeah, we got PMR 2, 3. There's none of that right now, right? We need PMR to be what we envisioned it to be, and that's all we want to do.
PMR, I'm not going to call it one, but it is a platform. Work's going to continue. Looking forward to that. And parting thoughts, Aris. I guess you're looking forward to getting further stuck in.
Oh, we are here to continue PMR development and make it the best possible, sim racing out there. There's no, otherwise why we're here, There is an amazing base into it. There are amazingly talented people working into it, and there are all the elements that you need to make one title, that stands the past of the time and becomes a proper brand, becomes something very, very important. Kevin said, competition is good. Your neighbor makes a better garden, you want to have a better garden yourself. Buys a better car, you want to do something on your car or buy a new one. And again, AC was there because GTR 1 and 2 was there. Project cars made ACC better, and so on and so forth. It's that back and forth. We are coming from a generation where we were driving cars on the screen and they were just triangles, transparent, and you could look inside, And now we have those amazing sim racing titles out there. Sometimes I do think that people do not know how good they have it. It's an amazing era to be able to develop a title like that for the players. And we just want to make our best so that people can look at PMR and say, yeah, this is another title that pushes forward the genre.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting day. A very interesting day. What with the changes of personnel, but also the fact that you're talking about there, both of you, that this particular update is almost like not a fresh start, but it's like another new building block to then see how the project goes forward, and that's really key.
I'm very keen to get people playing the GT3s and GT4s, and I think I want to oversell it because I believe in it, right? But as we've kind of always alluded to, is we will listen to our feedback. We don't listen. We take feedback with love. That's the best way to describe it. I think when you get your hands on this, you're going to go, yeah, there's something special here. You can start to see it, and I'm really looking forward to people. It'll be subtle, but they're really good changes. Do you know what I mean? For people that haven't had the slow movement up with the change. Does that make sense? It's like, when you see somebody that's, exercising, sorry, it's my age and people that, they've been training and you've been seeing them every day and you can see that their weight is dropping versus somebody that sees them maybe after 2 months. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's what this is. And so we're really sitting there, and that's why Aris is a little bit, he's excited but nervous as well, because we're sitting there kind of going, what are people going to say? Because they are radical enough when you get them at first impression, yeah. So we're really looking forward to hear what people have to say. And if it's,
my job is to go back and forth with the public version as well. So let me see where we are and where we're going, and there is a lot of stuff happening. The the best feedback that it helps you to sit down and process what's going on is from the people that they are always objective. They're trying to be, in the middle and understand what's going on, have a good way of trying, not be carried away always by enthusiasm, because enthusiasm can, a little bit change your perspective and your objectiveness. So when you can read those people saying something about what you have created, it goes inside and you can learn a lot. It doesn't matter if it's good or if it's bad. It's gonna be presented in a way that will help you a lot to say, all right, we did a little bit more of this and a little bit less of that. It makes sense now why he says that. So me and Kevin and all the people in PMR in Straight4, we see Traxion, your competitors, as very objective people of looking at and assessing and trying games. They're not like the sensationalistic clickbait title that they're gonna go out there and just go for the clicks. You're doing the job. We really appreciate that. We thank you so much. We hope that you're gonna like it. If we don't, we're gonna take the hit and say, well, they're right, and let's see what we can do.
Yeah, well, like I say, we will try the game again, and we will be honest as ever. So we'll find out. But it sounds like it's good to know that there's a lot of hard work going with Project Motor Racing. I think that's the main thing, and I think competition is healthy. And so let's see how you evolve, in particular, over the next few months. And I think Aris joining the team is a big deal. But for now, Kevin and Aris, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.